Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program Ramadan for Better Health. We hope that you're having a beneficial and successful Ramadan during the fasting month. Today, for the health topic that we're going to discuss, we're going to continue. We're very fortunate that we have brought back a doctor to continue a discussion that we've been having about the miracles in the Holy Quran revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about the details of how human life begins, the different stages that life goes through in the womb of our mothers. This is Dr. Muhammad El-Bigrami. He is a professor of ENT at Ain Shams University here in Cairo, Egypt, also the author of a book, How Do We Speak? Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program, Doctor.
Alaikum salam, welcome again. I am happy to be with you again.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad that you were able to come back to continue a very important and mind-blowing discussion about the miracles in the Holy Quran that show great detail about the growth, development, and all the stages of human life. Before, Doctor, when you were with us, you talked about it gave great detail, quoting the Holy Quran, giving us a scientific evidence, and you also mentioned that the human body, when we compare the chemical breakdown of the human body and the chemical analysis of clay, that they're very similar. And then you went forward and you talked about a great many things, how the Quran is accurate in the model that it presents, and the later in science, they try to understand this, and so if you could just continue your explanation of this for us.
We spoke last time about the male nutfa, and which are the sperms, and the female nutfa, which are the ovum, and now they are united. And God called them the mixed nutfa, which إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. Verify, we have created man from discharge of a man or woman, and or mixture of them, in order to try them or to examine him in the good and bad things. So we made him hearer and seer. And this is a referral that this is the man is formed of mixed nutfa or mixed drop from the male and female. And after that, after fertilization, the ovum or fertilized ovum has a journey about 5 days. It is fertilized in the outer part of the fallopian tube, then travels until it goes to the womb. While this ovum is traveling, it divides into 2 cells, then 4 cells, then 8 cells, then we call until it forms what is called the morula. Morula is a mass or very small ball of cells. Then it hangs in the womb. And then we come to the next verse. يا أيها الناس إن كنتم في ريب من البعث فإنا خلقناكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم من علقة. In الحج, سورة الحج, and in سورة المؤمنون ولقد خلقنا الإنسان من سلالة من طين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. And then the next stage is the hang. What is called the hang, I translated the hang. In most Quran translations, they call it sometimes a blood clot or a piece of meat. And this is wrong. Just I'm using the Quran words. They just translate what they understand, but they didn't translate the exact word of the hang. And we have a photo now of how this ovum hangs in the this is the verse, Quran verse
14. It says, then we made the nafta into a clot, a piece of thick coagulated blood. Is this the section you're talking about?
Yes. It is not a coagulated blood. It is a hang. Alaqa means something hang. Alaqa, a hanging like a lantern or like something hanging from the ceiling.
Yes.
This is and this is the exact word of description at this stage. So why you change this? This is here. It hangs. The cell hangs in the wall of the womb, and then embed itself inside. And God called it a hang. Actually, it has the Arabs call also another parasite, which is leech, a hang, because it hangs on the throat of the patient and suck blood. So if we compare also the photo of the hang or the leash and photo of the embryo at that stage, here on the left side it looks like the leash, and on the right side it is hanging in the wall of the womb.
Yes.
So the two meanings are correct just by description. So if you can consider it as a leash, because the Arab, in the Arabic word, the leash in Arabic is called a hang. And this here, the embryo in the upper photo, and in the lower photo is the leash, which are very looking to each other. So this is a marvelous description, actually, of these two creatures. Then God said thereafter, after that, we made the nutfa a hang, then we created the hang into a chew. The separation here then is short time, after a short time, because actually after few days it becomes a chew. Chew means something which you chewed it. And here is the embryo, and this is the photo of the embryo on the left side. This is a drawing, and the true embryo, which looks very much is a chewing gum on the right side. Because if you press it with your teeth, you will make indentation like the backbone, which is found in the embryo, and then the other transverse ridges, which are the somites, enables, looks like a shoe. Then the translation, it is a piece of meat which is chewn, or a piece of blood clot. Actually, this mistake came because the first thing you see in the embryo is what we call the area vasculosa, the area which forms the heart and the big blood vessels. If you have, for example, you are making egg, and sometimes you find a drop of blood inside the egg. I think most of us saw it.
Right.
This is a fertilized ovum, but the early thing which appears is this area of blood vessels, which like a clot. So the people called it a clot. No, it is not a clot. The Quran said a chew. A chew. This is part is a chew, and then this chew was described also in Quran as a chew, formed and non-formed. يا أيها الناس إن كنتم في ريب من البعث فإنا خلقناكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم من علقة ثم من مضغة مخلقة وغير مخلقة. He described the chew that is formed and non-formed. And this here we see in this photo, the formed part is the blue disc. This is the embryonic disc.
Okay.
This part only forms the embryo. But all the other parts are the membranes around the placenta, form the placenta, form the umbilical cord. So it is all the nutfa, all the chew. The chew is divided in two parts. Only a small part will form the embryo, and the other parts will form the which is non-formed, the placenta and the umbilical cord and the amniotic fluid and the yolk sac and so on. And this is the fetus, which is the form chew is down, and the placenta with the umbilical cord above, which is non-formed.
This looks like an actual photograph.
Yes, this is actual photograph. This is actual photograph.
Is this with a regular microscope or electron?
Actually, they described human creation actually from the miscarriages, mainly miscarriages at different stages. and sometimes they studied it on animal models, which are, there is a great resemblance to human beings. So this is the actual photograph actually. And then God says at the end of this statement, وَنُقِرُّ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ مَا نَشَاءُ إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, and we settle in wombs what we want till a defined time, or determine who will remain in the wombs to appointed term. And there was a fact that not every fertilized ovum complete development to fetus. Only one of every 6 embryos complete term. And this is what God said. Then when the chew is hanged here, it becomes the embryonic disc. This is formed of 2 layers, which have the black circle. This is the part which forms the embryo only.
So this is also an illustration of the womb with the upper green part. This is the
placenta.
The placenta.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, this will form the green part will form the placenta, and the red part will form the amnion, which are the membranes around the fetus.
Okay.
And only these 2 layers of cells which are circled by black circle,
okay.
this will form the fetus.
Okay.
And this is a disc. A disc actually we call embryonic disc, and it is bilaminar. That is, has 2 strata or 2 layers only. 2 layers only of cells. So 2 layers of cells. Then after that, this is occurs in the 2nd week, and there is another photo showing that it is 2 layers of cells only, and after that it begin to form the 3rd layer. This is the 3rd layer here, or trilaminar, in the 3rd week. There's another cell division comes in between, and another layer is formed, and this will mostly form the bones of the human being.
The blue in this illustration?
The blue is the ectoderm, or the which form the first the brain and the spinal cord and the skin, external skin. And the inner layer, this inner thin layer, will be the lining of the gut and the lining of the stomach and so on. And then the body itself will, in mesoderm, we call it mesoderm, the middle layer. The middle layer is formed at that stage. And from this stage, the bone will be formed first.
Okay. Dr. Muhammad, we are at our breaking point. We have made it to our 3rd week of development. We've got a lot of time and development to cover in a short period of time. We're discussing the development of the human beings from the embryo stage in the womb, and how the Holy Quran details this development. We'll take a short break and continue our discussion with Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you.
Every year during Ramadan, a lot of fiqh questions being raised, such as, what happens if I swallow some water by accident while performing wudu, while fasting? Would that invalidate my fasting? Is it permissible to brush my teeth while fasting? And the sisters who ask, is it permissible to taste the food while cooking, while fasting? Would that invalidate my fasting? And of course, not to forget the typical debate every Ramadan with regards to Taraweeh, 8 rak'ahs or 20 rak'ahs. Shall we make the qunut before ruku' or after ruku'? The witr prayer, is it 1 rak'ah or 3 altogether? These questions and many others will be answered, insha'Allah, during our program Ask Huda, which will be aired during Ramadan every week from Sunday through Thursday, exactly at 5 p.m. Mecca time sharp. You can simply call in to drop your live question, or you can send your question in advance to my page, Dr. Muhammad Salah Official. May Allah the Almighty accept our fasting. May Allah forgive us our sins, and may Allah guide us
Muhammad, the most common name in the world, why were so many parents interested and still are interested in naming the children Muhammad? What are examples of his love, his compassion, his mercy, his dedication, his sincerity, his bravery? How did he balance between private life and the public sphere of life? Why is he known as the greatest mercy sent to humankind? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Join us as we learn more about the balanced and beautiful personality of perfection, Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the program. Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion about the growth of human beings, the embryo development that is detailed for us in the Holy Quran 1400 years before the current time and hundreds of centuries before we developed our modern understanding and models of this. We're joined by Dr. Muhammad. Before the break, Doctor, you had worked us through the first and second and the third week of embryonic development. Please continue.
The mesoderm, or the middle layer, is formed, and this is very important layer because from it will develop the bones and will be covered later on by muscles.
Mm-hmm.
This probably in the next slide we see that it is just a green piece of cells which I draw on the left side, non-specific cells. Then most of it becomes yellow, the yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
These are my colors actually.
Okay.
The yellow part forms it's called the scleroderm. Sclero means hard. The cells which form the bone. Then it is covered by non-specific cells till now. The green one is still not specified.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the mudgha at this, or the chew, or the embryonic disc becomes yellow. You see it. Then God says, فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا. This means that most of the chew became bone. Actually, the bone forming cell.
Mm-hmm.
We will see that bone precedes flesh or muscles in several stages.
Mm-hmm.
At the stage of primary cells, this is called osteoblasts, or bone forming cells.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, in the fifth week or sixth week, we see that there is differentiation of the green part on the left side into two parts. Part which will the gray one will form the dermis, which is the deep layer of the skin, and the red one covers this yellow part, which is gives the muscles.
I want to catch this phrase here, lump of flesh. When you say the chew, this is what you mean, the lump of flesh?
Yes. This is the translation in the books. But as I said, I mean it the chew.
Chew,
which
yeah.
I prefer this translation.
Yes, the chew.
Which
Okay.
my translation actually.
All right, and so this is a quotation from the Quran. It says,
yes.
Allah referring to himself, we made out of...
فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا. This is, but before that, فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا. We created the chew into bones.
Yes.
And this is on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
In the left side, we see that most of it become yellow or bone forming cells.
And so there's no way for someone 1400 years ago to know that
No one.
bones are formed first.
Yes.
Or that the lump, in this whole sequence, right?
Yes. And many of the atheists say that this is the Quran, this is not correct. No, just refer to the embryology textbooks.
Right.
These are from embryology textbooks.
Right.
And one of them take the same books as Saunders' embryology textbook and says that there is no, I am taking these photos from this book who
Right.
hold and said that there is no formation of bone before, because the bone actually forms first as cells. Then we have two types of bone. One type of bone which is formed in cartilage, and the cartilage is a type of bone in Arabic language, in English language, in every language in the world. It is a bone, and one is formed in the membranes, like the skull. So we have membranous bones and cartilaginous bones, which are ossified later on. So when actually the myotome or the skin, the muscle cover appears in the 3rd month, while this is appeared in the 3rd week. The bone appears in the 3rd week, or the muscle layers becomes in the 3rd month. And if we see the different parts of the body, for example, the limb is formed first as a bud. The bone in the limb formed first, and then it is covered with muscles. The backbone first, and then it is covered with muscles. The abdominal, the chest, the rib first, and then becomes the muscles, and so on.
This is the next stage here. It says
this is the last stage. God says ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر, that then we brought him another creation. If you see on the right side the embryo who has 5 weeks, it doesn't look as a human being at all. But after that it becomes a full human being after the 3rd month, and then from the 3rd month to the 9th month it is just growing. So
it's fully formed, only small, after
yes,
three
after
months.
3 months or 4 months. But before that, it doesn't look as a human. It is just something like another creature.
Like you say, a chew or a lump of flesh.
Yes, a lump of flesh.
Okay.
And that is also a miracle in the Quran. And this shows. But just I may refer that in the Quran was stated that إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. After we have created the man from a chew, formed and unformed, we made him seer and hearer. And actually, hearing developed just before the ear, developed just before the eye. And in all the Quran, most of the verses, the hearing is mentioned before the eye. This may refer that it is very few time shorter before the eye is developed, hearing is developed.
Doctor, we have a tradition, I don't know about in the Arab world or in Egypt, but in America there's a tradition where we sing to the baby, we talk to the baby. Can the infants, the fetuses, can they hear what's happening?
Yes, they can hear. And the clue of that, if you make ultrasound, ultrasound, it is so, if you put it behind his ears, he will be bothered and move away from it. Because he is disturbed with this loud sound. Although this is ultrasound, we don't hear it usually.
It doesn't make any sense. But something that does make sense for the growing Muslim babies, the fetuses, standing for the Tarweeh prayers, hearing the Quran recited, all this, the baby can hear.
Yes. And they try to make hear while he is in the womb.
Wow, okay.
And this is... And one of the dua or the prayers of Rasul, he says, my face leaned forwards to who created it and clefted his hearing and vision. And actually, it was proved in the embryo, it begins as a cleft, which form later on a sac, and which form later on the ear, and later
is this what we're looking at here?
Yes. And this is actually, I forget to translate it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam إذا سجد قال سجد وجهي للذي خلقه وشق سمعه وبصره. My face has leaned forward for who created, means God, for God who created it, and clefted his hearing and vision. And in early development, the hearing otic vesicle or as a fissure or cleft, then form a vesicle or a something like balloon, then it forms later on as the inner ear or the eye globe, which is the organs of hearing.
Okay, so it makes a difference, you know, what the sounds that the growing fetus are exposed to. Some doctors I've heard, some people, I don't know if it's the official position, that the brain, because it's not fully developed, it can't process sound waves.
Yes.
But you would say that it is possible.
Yes, it is actually possible. And the child who is handicapped in his hearing is much more handicapped if he is handicapped than in vision. Because hearing is the source of information. We have in Egypt, for example, a great man in literature like Taha Hussein, who was blind, but he can get MD. But for a deaf person, he may not completely deaf, I mean.
Yeah.
He may not be able even to speak. He becomes deaf mute. He's unable to speak. So now we are doing what is called cochlear implant for these young children in order to hear very early, to develop speech at the early stage of life.
Dr. Muhammad, we have so far to go, but we have run out of time for our segment. We have about 1 minute that we can give to you to close out your summary statement before we close.
Yes, the miracle of Quran are always renewing. Every by time advances, it doesn't make the Quran old thing. It is also a new thing. لا يبلى على كثرة الرد, as Sahabi Ali ibn Abi said. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, لا تنقضي عجائبه. It has a lot of miracles which never end. So even the statement of the Surah Al-Tariq in the Quran, I call it the 19th century surah or verse, because it contains about 4 miracles which were not revealed except in the 20th century. And this is the Quran also always renewing his miracles.
Can you give us the name of this surah again?
At-Tariq.
At-Tariq. Okay, we'll take
it. It is a very short verse, a very short surah, but it denotes the creation of man. At-Tariq is referring to the black hole in the sky, or pulsating stars. It refers to the sky and the envelope of air which surrounds the air, and it refers to the plates on the earth that stuck together, may stuck together. So are actually 4, just referred to 4 recent informations which are not discovered except in this last century, This is Dr. Muhammad El-Bigrami. He is an ENT professor at Ain Shams University here in Cairo, Egypt. He's been talking with us about the embryonic development of human beings in the womb of the mothers as detailed in the Holy Quran. He's also pointing us to Surah Al-Tariq as the modern science surah. Yes, yes.
Okay, so we appreciate you joining us, Doctor, coming here to help us understand and open this very important subject for us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Muhammad, again, he is a professor at Ain Shams University. He is also an author of a book, How Do We Speak? It deals with the science of how we produce sound in our heads. Thank you so much for being with us. Inshallah, we'll continue our program providing in-depth discussions of various health topics. We do wish you a happy Ramadan again and success. May Allah accept our efforts. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.